He scored 2 goals against Real Madrid, and then 80,000 enemy fans stood up and applauded him. At the Bernabéu, the home of Barcelona's biggest rivals, fans who are taught to hate Barcelona from the day they're born. They stood and they clapped for a Barcelona player. In over 100 years, it had only ever happened once before. This is Ronaldinho, the man they called the Wizard, the player who made the whole world fall in love with football. In 2005, he was simply the best player on earth. And on one November night, he proved it, in the worst possible place to try. This is the story of the most impossible ovation in football history. If you love moments that should never have happened, subscribe, because this channel breaks down the feats that shouldn't be real, but are. And stay till the end, because it happened to him a second time, 10 years later, on a completely different continent. But first, that night in Madrid. November 19th, 2005, El Clasico. Barcelona traveled to the Santiago Bernabéu, the fortress of Real Madrid. You have to understand what this rivalry is. It's the biggest, angriest fixture in world football. 2 cities, 2 identities, a century of hatred. And that year, Real Madrid had the Galacticos, a team stacked with the most expensive superstars on the planet, built to win everything. Barcelona had superstars too, but above all, they had one weapon, a grinning Brazilian in the number 10 shirt who played like nothing scared him. From the very first minute, Ronaldinho played like the pitch belonged to him. Relaxed, smiling, untouchable. He danced past defenders. He teased them. He turned one of the most hostile stadiums on earth into his personal playground. Then came the moment. He picked up the ball, and everyone in the stadium felt the danger. The magic was coming. He skipped past one challenge, then another. He glided past Sergio Ramos like the defender wasn't even there. And then he slid the ball past Iker Casillas, one of the greatest goalkeepers who has ever lived, like it was the easiest thing in the world. 1-0, a solo goal, start to finish, in the middle of enemy territory. And if that wasn't enough, a little while later, he did it again. Another run, another defender beaten, another cool finish. 2 solo goals, in the home of his greatest enemy, in the biggest game his sport has to offer. Barcelona were cruising 3-0. The Galacticos, that team of superstars, looked completely helpless. And then something happened that people still talk about 20 years later. As Ronaldinho jogged back after his second goal, smiling that famous smile, the Real Madrid fans rose to their feet. 80,000 of them, clapping, cheering for him. The fans who despised Barcelona more than anything in the world, applauding a Barcelona player. It made no sense, and it was beautiful. In more than 100 years of this rivalry, this had happened exactly once before. For one man only, Diego Maradona, back in 1983. Ronaldinho became just the second player in the entire history of El Clasico to be honored like that. The second ever. He later admitted he was so lost in the joy of the moment that at first he didn't even realize it was happening. Now, here's the honest part, because the truth matters. Some analysts argue the ovation wasn't only love for Ronaldinho. It was partly the Madrid fans venting fury at their own failing team. Madrid played so poorly that night that the crowd had turned on them. So the applause was, in part, a protest. But even the most cynical critics agree on one thing. What Ronaldinho did on that pitch was pure, undeniable genius. And that was always his real gift. He didn't just win matches. He made people feel something they couldn't explain. He played the game like a kid on a street corner, with joy, with tricks, with a grin that never left his face. And the joy worked. That season, he was crowned the best player in the world and lifted the Ballon d'Or. In fact, he was named the world's best player 2 years in a row, a rare feat only a handful of legends had ever managed. And here's a record almost nobody knows. Ronaldinho is the only footballer in history to win literally everything the sport can offer. The World Cup, the Copa America, the Confederations Cup, the Champions League, the Copa Libertadores, and the Ballon d'Or. Every single one. No other player in the entire history of football has that complete collection. Not Pelé, not Messi, not Ronaldo. Only him. But here's the sad twist in the story. His magic burned incredibly bright and incredibly fast. By the age of 28, the age when most great forwards hit their absolute peak, the fire had faded. The parties, the lifestyle, the lost focus caught up with him. His time at the very top of the game lasted only a few short, blinding years. A supernova, not a steady star. And yet, in those few years, he changed football forever. A whole generation grew up wanting to play like him. Messi, Neymar, and countless others. Now, the promise I made at the start. That ovation from rival fans, it happened to Ronaldinho a second time. 10 years later, in 2015, long past his prime, he was playing in Mexico. He scored 2 goals away at the mighty Azteca, and once again, the opposing fans rose and applauded him until he cried. 2 ovations, 2 decades, 2 different continents, from the fans who were supposed to hate him. So here's the real question. Forget the trophies for a second. Was Ronaldinho the most naturally gifted, most joyful footballer who ever lived? Be honest, drop it in the comments. And if this made you smile, subscribe, because some players aren't remembered for their records, they're remembered for their magic. And that kind of magic is untouchable.